their statement, and I give the floor to the representative of the Russian Federation.
Спасибо, господин председатель.
Thank you, Mr. President. We thank the Special Envoy of the UN Secretary-General, Hans Grundberg, and Under-Secretary-General for Humanitarian Affairs, Martin Griffiths, for their overview of the political and humanitarian situation in Yemen. We are forced to note with regret that the Yemeni Republic continues to experience an acute military and political crisis accompanied by a wholesale escalation of violence and an intensification of hostilities on all fronts. The epicenter of these armed clashes is still in Marib, Shabwa, Jauf, and Hodeidah provinces. We are concerned by attacks on civilian infrastructure, both in the Republic itself and outside its borders in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates. We firmly urge all belligerent parties to strictly comply with the provisions of international humanitarian law. We are convinced that further confrontation could expand the geography of the armed conflict far beyond the region, and the ongoing impasse in the political settlement process brings us closer to the point of no return, after which restoring Yemen's unity would simply be impossible. Moreover, the confrontation in the Republic is aiding the further strengthening there of the positions of terrorist groups. In this context, we would once again like to underscore that there is no alternative to a peaceful political solution to the Yemeni conflict. A central role in the settlement process, as always, is played by the UN and the Special Envoy of the Secretary-General, Mr. Grundberg. At the same time, a reference point in this work should be the principle of inclusivity, and the end goal is a comprehensive and long-term settlement of the many problems faced by the country's population, and which in large part are also felt by states located nearby. In that connection, we support the efforts of the Special Envoy and urge him to step up his mediation activities to bring the participants in the Yemeni conflict back to the negotiating table. In this context, we note the launch in Amman of consultations with the representatives of Yemeni political forces. It was particularly important today to hear your assessment, Hans, of the contacts that you've had with the Yemeni parties. We trust that going forward, the proposed negotiating platform under the auspices of the UN will give the Yemenis a good opportunity to discuss the paths for a political solution to the conflict and allow the Special Envoy to come up with a new comprehensive peace settlement plan that could reconcile the many competing players on Yemen's internal political landscape. For our part, we intend to further continue to encourage the Yemeni authorities as well as the leadership of the Ansar Allah movement to take a constructive approach. We are convinced that it is on the basis of compromises that the problem of the Safia tanker can and must be resolved. In this context, we welcome the agreements reached between the Ansar Allah movement and the UN on dealing with the threat stemming from this floating oil tank. A subject of particular concern still is the dire humanitarian situation in Yemen. As we heard from Mr. Griffiths, the situation grows worse day by day and increasingly looks like a fully fledged humanitarian disaster. In this connection, we place hopes in the International Conference on Humanitarian Assistance to Yemen, during which paths to provide assistance to the Yemeni population will be discussed. We recall at the same time that humanitarian assistance must be impartial in nature. In conclusion, we would like to note the efforts of states in the region that are prepared to continue making mediation and humanitarian efforts as part of the Yemeni settlement. We recall also Security Council Resolution 598, as well as other initiatives focused on stabilizing the sub-region, including the updated Russian collective security concept. Thank you for your attention.
I thank the representative of